Tom Wilson must have gotten the message that he was a ghost, that he was invisible in the first 2 games. No shots on goal. He's had 13 in the last 2. Are we going to see more of that going forward from Wilson especially?
We should. I would even take it a step further and say the best performance of the night from that line was holding Panarin to just 1 shot on net. That to me is much more indicative of how well they played, because that's been the guy that's tough to neutralize, and they were able to do it. He had 1 shot on net. He had just 2 scoring chances, 2 penalties. I mean, this is if you can take him out of the equation, then you can see how much more good stuff you could do on the ice. But yeah, Tom Wilson definitely seems to have received the message, and he's playing much more like the guy we saw when he was put on the top line with Ovechkin and Backstrom back in November, kind of morphing into this 4th-line pugilist to this 1st-line driver. And that, too, can be, I hate to use the term X factor, but he can certainly be a difference maker in these next 3 games of the series if it goes that far.
Well, this is what they're capable of, Neil.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had plenty of games in the regular season where they dominated teams and from start to finish, and that's what this was. And now it's all square, and it's best 2 out of 3. You got 2 at home. A lot of people believe there's no carryover, or do you believe there will be a carryover in Game 5?
Well, that's the problem, right? That's the million-dollar question, and that's what makes this team so hard to handicap in terms of what their true talent is. I do think that there could be carryover because the lines are set, and they've done this in spurts before, and this is the first time that they've really kind of put it all together. But it's still fair to be skeptical. I mean, it's still fair to wonder, is this just an aberration, or did something finally click? Did Barry Trotz find some formula in terms of his lines? I do think that the Capitals will win this series. I've always felt that. I thought that they would win in 6. I really have no reason to change that belief at this point. I was a little bit nervous, obviously, when they were down 0-2, but I do think that they're the better team. I do think that they should be able to move past the Blue Jackets in the first round, and I do think that they're more than capable of winning 2 out of 3 games, especially with 2 games at home. My only concern, like most people, is if that does happen, how do they deal with Pittsburgh? But we'll worry about that if and when it happens.
I just don't.
But there's not necessarily, a huge carryover from game to game.
Yeah, I mean, no team has won on home ice yet. Hopefully, the Caps can reverse that trend tomorrow.
But again,
we've
if they
learned
win,
from Cap series of the past that momentum is a figment of our imagination.
But if they
figured
win this
anything
game,
out, though.
if they win this game in Game 5 in the series 2-2, they got a 79% chance of winning the series.
I like those numbers.
Have they figured something out? Now, Tortorella, the coach of the Blue Jackets, said, well, we just sucked.
Right.
And Drab was telling me he went on Columbus Blue Jackets Twitter last night to see what the fans' response there was.
Yes, Blue Jackets Nation,
and
Drab.
Blue Jacket Nation was basically saying that the team was lazy and they just didn't have energy.
Good. I hope that's the case. I hope they're lazy again
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
The counter might be that the Capitals figured something out. You talked about how they neutralized Panarin. You see a low shot total. It was right around 23 shots, I believe they had. So you could make an argument, I don't know if it's the correct argument, that the Caps maybe figured some things out and they're the better team.
And you can't stress enough, I think, the fact that Jay Beagle's back and healthy and they're winning the majority of the faceoffs, which they did again last night. That certainly helps.
He's so
good.
Totally changed.
Why is he so good at that?
It's just a skill that he's honed over the years.
Yeah, but also he adapted to the new rules, it sounds like, quicker.
Valdez, do you have the Tortorella comment after the game? It just makes me laugh when I hear him talk.
That's an all-timer.
I like that he's
That's
tilted.
an all-timer.
It's pretty good when
it's like right up there with the Jim Morris stuff.
Go ahead.
A couple of the guys said they felt that you didn't, as a team, test Holtby enough. Just what were your thoughts on the shots you did have and the chances you did have?
We weren't good. We weren't good. There's no sense asking me things about the game. I'm telling you, we laid an egg, so I'm not going to break it down for you. We sucked. We sucked. So let's move by it and see if we play better Saturday afternoon.
Hey, how can I mean, listen, I know the guy's a dick, but how can you not like him?
I like him. His personality.
I appreciate that. He's not sugarcoating it. He's not just trying to protect his guys. He's saying, look, we sucked. I don't have time for this BS. This is silly. We sucked. We sucked. We sucked.
There aren't many
Why
coaches.
are you even asking me
there
details
aren't
about
many
a game
coaches
we
that would
sucked
say
in?
that.
I hope they suck again tomorrow, and I hope they bottle up Panarin again tomorrow because he was clearly frustrated, took 2 penalties, was ineffective, only had 1 shot on goal. I mean, if you see that sort of performance again tomorrow, you have to love the Caps' chances going forward.
I'd say if they play half as good as they played, they'll be in a good spot. You know.
I like it when Neil Greenberg says if the Caps play like this, they can make a deep playoff run.
That's a completely different narrative than he had been pushing all year.
Yeah. Correct.
But because they hadn't played like that. So the problem with that is they're probably more likely to play like they've played all year than like they did in the outlier.
Possibly.
You have to remember, it is an outlier. Like, didn't he say that was the best game they've had in, like, did he say
Most
one of the best
complete
3 or 4 games in, like, Ovi's
the
career
season.
or something?
Most
he said
complete.
something.
I thought he said of the season. But, look, the biggest reason that they've played better the last 2 games is they changed the goaltender.
Right.
And the question is, will Braden Holtby continue to play like this, or will we return to the Braden Holtby we saw the last few months of the regular season?
can't imagine.
I think when you're
Plays like he
hot, you
has.
kind of stay hot.